Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to be live and in person at the ADI conference again. Before we jump in, I wanted to take a minute to introduce myself and the Crafty Cask. I'm Suzanne, the founder of the Crafty Cask, and an experienced marketer, market researcher, and customer experience professional. I have over 12 years of marketing experience at a Fortune 500 consumer packaged goods company, in addition to over 7 years of marketing experience in the craft alcohol industry. The Crafty Cask's mission is to celebrate and support craft alcohol makers, like many of you. We have a unique business model in order to bring that mission to life, ranging from our craft maker marketing services, our one-of-a-kind 10-course online craft alcohol marketing bootcamp, hosting corporate tasting and mixology classes where we feature only craft alcohol, our newly launched Sip Scout craft alcohol subscription club, our private craft makers marketing community, creating engaging content, and more. Everything we do is centered around helping craft alcohol makers build thriving businesses and increasing the importance of drinking craft. If you want to tap into any of our amazing free resources we have for craft makers like you, there are links shown to do so. We'd love to have you as a member of our free craft makers marketing community, a client, a student in any of our bootcamp classes, or a mailing list subscriber. Speaking of mailing lists, let's talk email. Email marketing is undeniably a necessity for marketers today. It's one of the most effective marketing tactics and one of the only marketing assets, your email list, that you as a business truly own. With an increasing number of brands investing in email marketing, it's harder than ever to capture your contacts' attention and engage them in meaningful conversations. So let's jump into our agenda to make sure you're set up for success with email marketing to grow your brand. There's a simple reason why so many marketers rely on email. It works. 99% of consumers check their email every day. 95% of marketers found their email marketing strategy was effective in meeting business goals. 79% of marketers rank email as one of their top 3 channels for effectiveness. And research shows that email delivers a $36 return for every $1 spent. Email's low cost, high visibility, and effectiveness make it essential for marketing success. Email marketing provides a wealth of data on your consumers, and all good marketing relies on deeply understanding your target consumer. So this is a win-win, since email marketing allows you to effortlessly collect multiple types of data on consumers who have willingly raised their hand to engage with your brand. This data means you understand your consumers better, can personalize their emails to make them feel more valued, and leverage that data to be more strategic with all of your marketing efforts. Gone are the days when you can use Gmail or Outlook for email marketing. It's a fool's errand and will cost you more time, energy, and legal risk for subpar results. An email marketing provider allows you to efficiently create, personalize, optimize, and send marketing emails that feel and look professional without designers or IT. While there's always an upfront learning curve with any new tool, getting a tool in place from the start is imperative. What if I already have a CRM? Isn't that enough? Yes, it might be. CRMs and ESPs work together to create in-depth profiles on the customers you communicate with. However, if you're just starting your online marketing journey, you most likely only need to find an ESP. It's also important to note that nowadays, many ESPs also act as CRMs, and many CRMs also act as ESPs. But the origin of that software is usually where the strongest features and capabilities lie. What do we do at the Crafty Cask? We use ActiveCampaign as our ESP, and it's grown into our light-duty CRM, combined with another tool called Airtable. If you're thinking long-term and considering a CRM with email capabilities or an ESP with CRM capabilities, it's a smart move. But it can be overwhelming. So to help you with your decision, head on over to bit.ly/TCC free resources to grab this free resource from our course, You Have Distribution, Now What? It provides guidance and a checklist to help you assess and choose the right system for your business needs. There are also tons of other free resources to help you with your marketing, your craft alcohol brand at that link as well. Now that you have an ESP in place, let's talk about growing that email list. Your email list is the one marketing asset that you own. Facebook doesn't own it. Instagram doesn't own it. Even your ESP doesn't own it. People who signed up for your email list are your marketing goldmine and to protect and serve to the best of your ability. So let's talk about how to grow it and how to minimize unsubscribes. First things first. If you're a brand new distillery and don't even have a website yet, I want you to get a single landing page with an email sign-up form up and running now. You don't need a web designer, and it doesn't have to be fancy or expensive. Start building your email list as soon as you decide to start a distillery. Don't wait until it's built or you have something to sell. This is and will continue to be your most valuable asset, so don't delay on building it. Let's talk about a few ways to do just that. First, make your opt-in forms and pop-ups on your website 2 fields or less: name and email. Honestly, even just email is better. Remember, as part of your welcome email, you can always ask them to provide a bit more information so you can get to know them better and make sure they only get the content they want. So don't try to collect all of the data you want at sign up, since it will turn a lot of people away. Also, make sure your website opt-in forms are connected to your ESP for a seamless process. At the Crafty Cask, we're on WordPress and really like the Bloom plugin to automatically add people to ActiveCampaign from our website. Second, you have to give people a reason to sign up. A download of your favorite cocktail recipes, 10% off their first visit, a free tour. Incentivize them to join your mailing list with something they value and watch your signups soar. To figure this out, test lots of different lead magnet options and keep optimizing and learning. Third, use other marketing tactics to get new subscribers. Articles, social media posts, tasting room receipts, etc. You can also encourage new subscribers to get friends to subscribe with referral bonuses or even just clear CTAs. Now that you have a handle on how to attract subscribers, let's talk about minimizing unsubscribes and driving loyalty. First, if they signed up for your newsletter to get something in return, make sure they get it right away so they don't feel duped. You can do this in your welcome email or on your thank you for subscribing page. Second, if you send emails on different topics and cadences, make sure your subscribers can opt out of specific topics or types of email versus only giving them the all or nothing option of subscribing to everything or unsubscribing completely. It's also important to make sure you're paying attention to how often any single subscriber might be getting an email from you and keep it reasonable. But you have to test this and pay attention to unsubscribe rates to determine what's reasonable for your audience. Lastly, deliver what your subject line promises on so readers don't feel clickbaited. And make sure your from name is friendly. I use Suzanne at the Crafty Cask to hit the balance between personal and professional and have found that this helps with our open rates versus just using the Crafty Cask or my name alone. While reply tracking might seem like a good idea, with most ESPs it makes your sender from line a gobbledygook tracking string that looks like spam. So I always recommend turning this off unless that measurement is critical for your goal. Overall, to get a handle on what is causing people to unsubscribe, make sure you're always paying attention to your unsubscribe rates for each email campaign you send out to identify themes, get to know your audience, and optimize. The most successful marketing emails are not sent on a whim, but are instead part of a larger calculated strategy. In order to do this, for every email campaign you create, you must know what you are sending and why, who you are sending it to, and when you are sending it. Let's briefly touch on each one. Like all good marketing, the type of email you are sending should be connected to the goals you are trying to achieve. If all of your emails look the same regardless of the goal, it's time to take a step back, create a few different templates, and optimize for success. What I find most often with craft makers is they simply set up a monthly or bi-monthly newsletter and use that same format for everything under the sun. But the beauty of email marketing when done well is that there are different email templates proven out to work harder to drive specific goals. And those templates are often provided right within your ESP, like those shown here from ActiveCampaign. You can rip and reapply them to your business. So get out of the one format for everything mindset and start using email like a pro with distinct templates and approaches to better meet your goals. One quick note on a common usage of newsletters: sharing updated and new web content. If this is one of the primary ways you are using email marketing to let your audience know about a new article or cocktail recipe on your website, consider making your life easier with an RSS feed. Once you have your email template set up, it's time to think about who you'll actually be sending each email to. This is where the 4 different types of data you're collecting that we talked about previously come in handy. Email segmentation is the act of breaking up your large email lists into subcategories or smaller lists that pertain to your subscribers' unique characteristics, interests, and preferences. Your subscribers are humans, after all, and we should do our best to treat them as such. That means not sending generic email blasts to people you know don't care about that topic. Segmentation is a vital part of email marketing because if you send the wrong content to the wrong people, like tasting room events to people who live out of state, you run the risk of losing subscribers. Now, on to when to send the email. While common best practices are shown, I want you to take it with a grain of salt. Only use these best practices if you're just getting started. Otherwise, ignore it and use your ESP's historical data and A/B testing capabilities to test out different days and times to determine what works best for your unique audience. Particularly since, 1, most marketers are following these same best practices, making it harder to stand out. 2, the alcohol industry is different, so nights and weekends often can work better for us. And 3, it truly depends on your audience and their habits. Now that you know the basics of email marketing, the what, why, who, and when, let's jump into some of our top tips and tricks. First things first, we are a mobile society. Let's be honest. How often are you on your phone checking email? A lot, right? So is everyone else. So it's critical that you're optimizing your emails for mobile. So our first tip is to always test emails for mobile, tablet, and desktop, and ideally for both Gmail and Apple email clients. Our second tip is spacing and formatting often appears different on mobile versus desktop. So again, this is something that's important to test. Our third tip is to ensure photo sizes are compressed and reasonable for mobile loading. And lastly, beware of dark mode. We're going to go into this a little bit more later. Next up, automations. Here I've shown one of our many email marketing automations along with a few thought starters on things you can automate. For years, I ran my own email marketing without paying attention to the power of automations. Once I spent the time to learn and start using automations, they became central to all of my marketing success. They take so much work out of the process, allow for more personalized and specific emails on exact timing, and mostly allow you to set it and forget it. Although any set it and forget it tactics are always risky if you truly forget them. So make sure to go through and review all of your automations and email templates within them at least 2 times per year and find a way to keep track of them. Your business is changing quickly, and you'd be surprised at how quickly email templates can become out of date, inaccurate, or simply could be improved upon as your business grows. Also, when creating emails to be sent out automatically, try to keep the copy as evergreen as possible. So don't mention the current year or date, reference current trends or events, or recent product launch, or anything else that won't make sense a month or a year from now. Considering your email subject line is the first thing anyone sees when you send them an email, its importance cannot be overstated. Your subject line should capture their attention so they want to open the email and continue reading it. Your pre-header is the secondary spot to grab attention and get them to open that email. The best subject lines grab attention, provide some sort of value or information, and create an emotional reaction or connection. Ready to play along with an exercise? While I set this up, think about an email you've recently sent or plan to send and have that topic or original subject line ready. If you have a pen and paper, get that ready too. Or you can use a note-taking app on your phone or simply do this in your head. But when it comes to crafting subject lines, the best practice is to push yourself to create 5 to 10 subject lines before actually settling on one. And this exercise will help you do just that. Now, this may seem like a waste of time once you come up with your first subject line, but given the importance of that subject line to get them to open the email, it's worth the effort. In fact, some experts say you should spend 50% of the total time that you spend on your email campaign on the subject line and opening paragraph alone. To help you with this brainstorming exercise, here are 6 of the best performing types of subject lines with a few different great examples across industries. All right, have your email in mind? Let's play. First, FOMO. So this is all about highlighting what they stand to lose if they don't open that email. Next is curious. Engage their mind with curiosity to open and work out the answer. Third is funny. Use humor to engage without offending or alienating, which means you have to know your target consumer a little bit in order to be able to use humor to appeal to them. Next up is pain points. For this, you want to make them feel like their problem is recognized and taken care of. Then there's re-engagement. So this is where you have to get creative to re-spark interest. So think about if they haven't opened an email from you in a while. Lastly, there's social proof, removing doubt by highlighting evidence. Now, keep in mind, you can combine some of these things as well. So you might think about social proof and say, well, I don't really have like a celebrity or anyone who anyone knows to say something about my brand, but that's okay. You can combine social proof with funny, right? You can think of things like saying, Sarah says this is the best bourbon she's ever had. And then in the body of the email, you disclose that Sarah is your sister-in-law, right? So there's ways to kind of get people intrigued and get them to open things and combine some of these things while still using best practices to get them to open your email. So next time you craft an email, pull out these 2 slides. Or better yet, actually, these handouts that I have up here. Hey, Larissa, would you mind passing these around? These handouts have specific craft alcohol examples for different types of effective subject lines and headlines. So pull these out and try to come up with a few for each bucket yourself before settling on the strongest one. This little freebie bonus that Larissa is passing around is from our Craft Alcohol Marketing Bootcamp course on creating content that kills. And if you use it diligently for your next few email campaigns, you'll get the hang of pushing yourself to create better subject lines. And you will be amazed at how much better the subject line you land on is than the first one you thought of, which will lead to much better open rates. All right, let's be honest. While content is king, we are all overwhelmed with content these days. So, this next tip is about the 3 S's. First, keep it simple. We all know this, but it's hard to do, especially when we're passionate or really well informed about something. But here's a shocking stat to keep in mind. More than 50% of students at a 4-year college could not understand the arguments of newspaper editorials or compare credit card offers effectively. And these are kids that are more literate than the average US adult. While I'm not suggesting that you dumb down your content for the lowest common denominator, it is important to keep this in mind, especially when we're geeking out on something we're passionate about. Overly complex content loses people. Don't make them work harder for it than they need to. To ensure your email is easily skimmable, make sure you're breaking up long blocks of text with compelling descriptive subheaders and imagery. Most people skim and read the sections that they're most interested in now. So help them skim and find the sections they're most interested in, or ensure they see what you most want them to see by highlighting that in headers or using bold or other font formatting. Lastly, always remember to run your email past the shareable test. Is this something that someone would want to share with a friend? And don't forget to actually tell them to share it if that's your primary goal. Speaking of telling your audience what you want them to do, our last tip is to always have a clear call to action. Calls to action, or CTAs, are used to get your email recipients to take valuable action with your brand. In essence, it's the whole reason you're sending the email. Consumers aren't mind readers, and people, especially busy people, generally don't do things out of the goodness of their heart. If you want them to do something, download, subscribe, share, comment, buy, visit, anything really. If you want them to do something, you have to make it clear by including a specific call to action. It should be direct, focused on the benefit they'll receive, easy to do, and obvious visually as they read your email. And if you don't want them to do anything with that email, then remember to ask yourself why you're spending the time and money to create the email in the first place. Now that we've covered our top tips and tricks, get really familiar with CAN-SPAM laws before you start emailing a soul, and make sure you stay up to date on them. Violations can be incredibly costly, up to $16,000 per email. First, what does CAN-SPAM even stand for? This one is kind of a fun fact. Does anyone in the audience know? No? CAN-SPAM stands for Controlling the Assault of Non-Solicited Pornography and Marketing. Now you can tell all of your colleagues that you were in the ADI presentation talking about porn. In all seriousness, though, here are a few tips to ensure you're staying compliant. Although keep in mind, I am not a lawyer, and it's always best to seek out legal advice on anything with legal penalties that you don't fully understand. The first tip is to always include an unsubscribe link. The second tip is to actually remove unsubscribes within 10 business days. Most ESP providers can do this automatically, so just make sure it's set up right. And honestly, while 10 business days is the maximum, try to get your system set up so that it's unsubscribing people immediately so they don't get another email from you after they've unsubscribed. Tip number 3, include your physical location in your email footer. This is important and required, so you must have a physical location there. Tip number 4, ask subscribers to add you to their address book or safe senders list. You're doing all this work to comply with canned spam laws, so you don't want to end up in their spam folder anyway. So ask them to add you to their safe sender list so that doesn't happen. Next, make sure to keep email differences in mind. As you can see, you primarily need to worry about Apple Mail and Gmail. Now, the reason this is so important is because different email clients lead to different looking email campaigns. It's also important because some email clients have different features that can really impact your success. With Gmail, for example, the promotions tab can cause your email to skip consumers' inbox entirely. With Apple Mail, there's their new mail privacy protection program that launched last September. This masks data from ESPs, making inaccurate open rates and other data, and more than 50% of Apple Mail users have already opted into this. So to combat these types of things, our biggest tip is to create an internal testing group with employees who have different email clients and different settings to make sure you're pre-testing every campaign. Beware of dark mode. How many of you use dark mode on your phone? How many of you have no idea if you use dark mode on your phone? Well, it's something important to be aware of since a lot of users do use dark mode regularly, myself included. So lots of consumers are using dark mode, yet most of us in this room are unaware of it. That's exactly why you need to be paying attention to these types of trends. Let me show you a small, silly example of why this matters. So first, you see this email in light mode. Now I'm going to show you it in dark mode. You can see this signature line, because it's an image, does not look good in dark mode. It's a black font on a black background with a transparent background behind it. You can kind of see it, but it doesn't look good and it certainly doesn't look professional. So this third one is an image of a different email where we fixed this, where we saw that this wasn't working for us and went into Canva and created a signature line that actually had, worked for dark mode and light mode. So there are solutions to this. You just have to be paying attention to it to catch the issues and make sure you have fixes in place for them. All right, our last topic for today is all about tracking results. So let's wrap things up here by talking about that. When it comes to any marketing tactics, it is always critical that you are tracking results. If you don't know how something is performing, you may be wasting precious money and time that could be working harder to grow your business in other ways. Or you could be blind to great results that indicate you should be investing in that tactic more heavily. Measurement matters. So when it comes to email, make sure you ensure that each email campaign has a clear goal. Match metrics to that goal. You can see all of the different metrics you have here related to email to choose from. Depending on the goal of the email you're sending, there's different metrics are going to be important. Assess the most impactful emails from each goal type. Replicate what works, optimize what doesn't. And lastly, consider email marketing interdependencies with other marketing tactics and make sure to measure them holistically. So if you're sending an email to get people to attend an event, you can't just use email metrics to measure that. There's the open rate of the email. There's the click on the link to go to the event page on the email. But then there's actually the event registration on the page as well that all counts for the success of this email. While there are a lot of metrics you can be tracking for email success, as we just illustrated, It's common for most marketers to track open rates and click-through rates. Although, as I mentioned earlier, you should also really be paying attention to unsubscribe rates. But let's take a minute to focus here before we head into questions. So with open rates, this is the percentage of email recipients who open a given email. The industry standard is somewhere between 30 and 35%. And it's important to note that this is becoming more of a vanity metric given data reporting issues like the Apple MPP that we talked about before. So it's really best to compare against yourself versus really comparing against others here. When you're thinking about improving your open rate, there's lots of things you can do, but our top 3 tips are to ask in a welcome email to add to the safe senders list. If they're not getting your email, they can't open your email. Second, A/B test your subject lines. Subject lines are one of the most important things to getting people to open your email. And then third, A/B test the days and the times to send. Now, moving over to click-through rates, this is the percentage of email recipients who clicked on one or more links contained in a given email. The industry standard for this is 3 to 5%. And this is a very important metric because it gives you insight into how many people are engaging with your content and interested in learning more about your brand or your offer. To improve your click-through rate, you want to make sure you have clear, visible calls to action. We also want to focus our emails on less is more. So singularly focused emails with one CTA tend to perform better than a complex email with lots of CTAs. And then lastly, you want to A/B test your email copy and your CTAs to see what works best for your audience. Okay, let's answer some questions. If we don't get to your questions now, or you want to go a bit more in depth on any marketing topic, you can set up a free one-on-one session with me during the conference or after the conference by going to bit.ly/marketing helpline with the M and the H capitalized. If you want to learn more about anything we've talked about today or anything I've shown, I'll hang out after the presentation to chat as well.